we went through the absolute mill. I think the heat, it was such a fast race. We had the Australians and the Americans. I think they were both maybe under 5:20. We were third with like a 5:20 and a bit or something like that. But then we were kind of faced with the repechage of death. The repechage was really early. So we kind of got up and we're kind of running down the track. It's like dark. It kind of felt like you were, on the way to like steal something. There was this kind of tension. Jürgen gave us this like epic, get this done kind of speech. And we went off the start and we just didn't look back.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Last Stroke Counts. If you like to listen to some fantastic stories of what it's like to row at the top level and also coach and Cox athletes, you're going to love this episode. Please welcome Henry Fieldman to the podcast.
Hi guys, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. It's another one. Like obviously we've rowed together before, so it was an easy pick. But it's really good to get you on, and awesome to hear that you've heard a few of them as well. So it's really good. I guess I'll start by just kind of introducing what you've done. So at junior level, it was Coop, and then 3 under-23 World Championships with 2 bronze medals. One of them with me. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
that was it. Yeah, 6 senior World Championships, 2 golds, 1 silver, 2 bronzes. Coastal rowing champion, Cambridge Blue. From this year, double European medalist in one day, and then obviously to top it off, Tokyo Olympics bronze medal in the men's 8. So a hell of a list to go down with. I think probably we should start with Europeans this year and how that went down.
Oh yeah, it was a crazy few days. So this year I was selected to coach the women's 8. So I was gearing up for that. We were kind of building in. Everything was kind of as you'd expect, I guess. And I was rooming with the men's 8 coach, Harry Brightmore, and really unfortunately he got COVID while we're out there, and I came back to my room in 2 days before the finals, and he went off for a shower, and then came out and said, "Oh, Henry, I've got a problem. I'm going to need your help." And shot out onto the balcony and told me he'd got this positive test.
Yeah.
And so I kind of immediately masked up, and then suddenly my phone's going crazy. And the men were meant to be going for an outing right then. I kind of just got back. I was thinking, I'm going to have a nice little chilled afternoon. And suddenly Steve Trapmore, the coach of the men's 8, calls me, says, "Kind of need you to come down now." So shot down, did a training session with them, and then by the time we got off, got the news that Harry was going to be out for the weekend. So I'd have to do both, and they'd kind of already spoken to the women's coaches as well, and they'd run it past the women's 8, and they were kind of fine with it, and we kind of could work it out, so it would be fine. And luckily the finals were on different days, so it kind of made it pretty easy. Normally they're quite close together.
Yeah.
Men's 8 final was on Saturday, women's was on Sunday. So I did. Yeah, thinking back, probably, I think on the day on Saturday, I went out with the men for a pre-row, came back in, did a training session with the women, came back in, rigged up, got the 8 sorted out, raced the final of the men's 8, came back off, then did a training session with the women. It was just kind of relentless, but it kind of meant that I had this really unique experience and opportunity to do those 2 races back to back. And the men's one was really like a crazy race. That crew is seriously good, and great to kind of jump in, and they've done some amazing work since I was last in it, and it was really firing. I think it's always going to be challenging for them because you've got the brain of the boat that's kind of conducting the orchestra is suddenly gone, and then they've got to adapt to me, and I've got to adapt to them, and so credit to them for kind of coming through and winning that race. That was a lot of pressure from the Dutch and the Romanians. I think the margin at the end was 0.05 seconds. So it was a crazy race, but really happy and proud as well to kind of mesh with them and come away with a good result.
Yeah, awesome for the team, like you say, for everyone to work together, for people to be happy, and it's not ideal preparation, but for the women's team to be like, yeah, call it, like, let's make it happen. And like, probably also like you couldn't have a better way for it to go wrong. Obviously you've been involved in the men's team already. Like, I guess Tom, was it Ford? Yeah, Tom Ford was your stroke man. He was stroking it as well anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah, so kind of like him and James are kind of, it's a familiar sign.
Yeah.
And, it was a cool thing to do. And I guess like, I mean, I can't say it was a cool thing to do without saying like my heart goes out to Harry, who was like ill on the plane going home at the time, and he made a full recovery. Back in the fight now.
Yeah.
I'm sure Harry was definitely happy that you were his replacement. If in that case, like you guys were obviously like roommates, so it must have been at least comforting for him to know that like he can leave his 8 in safe hands. I just want to know about the race, because obviously the margin was so tight. Did you go into that race expecting to win, or when did you ever have like moments of doubt? Or
yeah, I mean, there's been so many races since then, so I kind of cast my mind back, and I remember we went off the blocks, and it was quite a good start. And through the transition, I think we started to move away, but we like the lake was quite a lot of like lateral in the water, and we were kind of like doing this a bit, and it sort of felt like we hadn't quite hit the rhythm that I've seen them do in some of their other races and some of their training, where they're kind of just look so long and efficient. We hadn't quite managed to bring that out. And you know how it is when you're in a boat for a while, you have these like buzzwords which mean whatever it means. And so I think again, that probably having the last minute change of coach probably made that moment a bit tricky, but we got into an okay rhythm and started moving out a little bit, but not in a way that kind of could really dominate the race. And the Dutch and the Romanians were like right there and applying pressure. And we just kind of, I think as we sort of started to respond to that, and I was calling for a little bit more, it just started to bring the rhythm together a bit more as well. So we started to probably find our best stuff as we were kind of charging towards the line. And I mean, it was actually, we actually got rowed through by the Romanians and then rowed through them again to the line. So it was crazy. I mean, I was pretty sure we'd won at the end, but I looked over and the Romanians were celebrating like really hard, and I thought, I better just wait for confirmation here before I kind of say what I think happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess confidence as well for that 8 to be like you said, hey, we lost our brain, and like fantastic sub, but like also like even when shit goes wrong, like we've spoke a bit at coaching, like generally when I was coaching, I was sort of always coming into events, would sit my team down and be like, listen, something's going to go wrong. Like if we all sit here and expect perfection, we're going to panic because something will go wrong. And like as soon as you start preparing, and when that thing does happen, you can be quite calm, be like, here it is, here it is. Like we knew it was coming, we knew this thing's going to go wrong. But that's all about like performing at the top level. It's like not necessarily performing in perfect conditions. Like you said, sometimes the water's a bit washy and things like that. So
especially in that style, I mean, I was watching that race, and towards the finish, like, as I heard the commentators, like really start to like get emotional about it all, and then saw that the margin was so close, like I had a tear in my eye. I must say it was a very, very good race to spectate.
That finish in the men's 8 is looking like unbelievable. Like just recently in Lucerne, like watching them, like it's like take chunks like per stroke out of Australia. But yeah. Anyway, we'll move back into that. Let's rewind a little bit now then and get into how you got into coxing in the first place.
Let's see. So I was I guess like I was very fortunate as a young guy. I basically, my where my parents had me, they weren't sure where they were going to live, and my aunt basically said, you can live in my house and I'll move in with my dad's mum. So they moved in together and basically gave us their place, which happened to be in Barnes. So like amazing part of London and really near the river. And so I kind of like always like was aware of rowing, because you're kind of crossing the bridge in your in your little pushchair as a little man, and then like as you're kind of growing out, you're kind of aware of all these crews. And I remember being always quite excited when the boat race crews were kind of having it on. Because I remember Oxford especially, I'm not that excited about Oxford now. It's much more, Cambridge all the way. But But I remember they were especially really like, they had this big sound. They'd like breathe out at the bit. You kind of be walking along. I was sat down on the river.
The old Carl Husmith.
Yeah. Throwing water like.
No, he used to, maybe he used to like everything. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, it was
like a real proper noise.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I kind of like saw it, was aware of it, and then again, very fortunate to go to Lassenrock school, like private school, and one of the options there was rowing. I didn't choose it. I chose rugby, and like pretty soon found out that it's not for me, and so joined the boat club, and they lined us up in height order on day one, and I was at one end of the line, and those people on that end of the line had to cox. So and that was my first taste of coxing.
I wasn't allowed to cox at school. I had the opposite part. I was like, that job looks really fun. I'll never get around. They're like, no way, mate. Yeah, you're in the boat.
I've not even managed to squeeze myself in for a session. It's it does look fun, but like I'll probably be slowing the boat down more than I could like potentially like encourage the athletes to pull hard.
It's one thing I wish I could have had a go at. I feel like I obviously have an understanding of how difficult it is, having spent enough time rowing, but speaking to people who've rowed a bit and then to go coxing, like when you see someone come out and they're like, oh my God, like that is not what I thought it was. Like I think it would be fun to have a go, but I'm never someone. You'll have to get a custom made boat.
There's those, I guess. I mean, come when you're doing the ergos next, Caversham will
squeeze, shoehorn me in. You don't need a bungee if you're carrying 100 kilo.
So what we could do is we could put like a big plaque of wood, and then you could like maybe kneel on top of that.
I've seen some people who will sit on the back, like for novice. Stuff, yeah. So I guess it's funny that you say that you didn't choose it. I think that's kind of a recurring theme a lot with rowers. Like sometimes it was the option to not do something they wanted to do. Like, I hate rugby, I'm going to go and do it.
Rowing finds you.
Yeah, I think something a lot of people, you just kind of fall into it and it just happens. How did you get on with it early on? Did you enjoy it? Was it like, oh, this is too serious? Or
yeah, I loved it. I think I guess I was a little guy that was I am actually still but I was a little guy that had like was told tell these big people what to do. I thought, this is great, and I like being outside, and I like being on the water, and I think I was probably I didn't really know. I was like probably an awkward kid, and I didn't really. Rowing gave me that sense of like, these are your people, and this is something you're working with other people towards, and I really like that community, and I probably like, I guess I remember not really knowing who my crowd was when I was growing up, and are you with the kind of the sort of nerds or the druggies, or there's this other group, the rowers, that might be me. So.
I feel like I was just sort of the same. Like I sort of describe myself as a athletic nerd. Like I didn't quite fit the nerds because I was tall and sporty, but I didn't quite fit the jocks because I was a nerd. And like rowing does sit in that kind of middle place where you can be sporty and athletic, but also you can like nerd out about it.
Totally.
Awesome. So do you remember like your first competitions or anything like?
Oh yeah, I've got a little bit of video of it. I'm like. I think it was Hammersmith Head, and my parents were filmed it with like an old camcorder or something. So I got there's this footage of us going under the Barnes Bridge, and I'm like, I've got like the race plan on a sheet of paper like between my feet. I'm just kind of like sort of trying to remember it. But yeah.
How was your line?
Yeah, probably
acceptable.
Yeah, no, yeah, really dreadful. We did go through the centre arch, but I remember just being, I think just having no understanding of what's going on. It's basically just like people turning up the intensity. I remember my first like multi-lane race at Dorney, and kind of seeing it and just being, it's massive, and like getting to the end of it, and they're like, right, this is the start, and that's thinking like, I can't even see the finish, like, and it's only, it's 2K, but I remember just thinking, this is crazy. But having amazing fun, and we had a guy called Alex Walker. I don't know if you remember him. He was
Yeah, rings a bell.
He as a junior, he was epic, and so he really wanted to row a single, but he was kind of encouraged to row the Cox quad with us for like our first year of rowing, and he probably carried us to like some good medals. So it was good fun. It was good fun.
And then obviously getting sort of a coupe, was that in your last year of school?
That was my second last year of school. I was we did the. I think I was in the second day of school at the time, but I managed to convince them to send me to GB trials, and then finished like third out of that lot. So I was sent to the coupe, and I was in the Cops 4 with I think people you remember, Scott Durant was in it.
Yeah.
So that was good, and we it was an amazing time. Training was different. I remember our coach kind of had us like stopping off in sessions to go to the pub, and kind of thinking, wow, GB row, crazy. But no, it was a really good time. We ended up with 2 golds, which was awesome. And I guess from that point on, I kind of thought, oh, this is actually something maybe I want to do.
Hooked, yeah.
We were thinking at the time maybe we should get coupe tattoos after that. But
what was it? Was that 2006?
2006, yeah.
Okay, so you were the same age. So we left school in 07. So I think the top Cox was Hugo, wasn't it?
He was the Cox the following year.
Yeah.
So I think the top Cox that year was probably Jack Plummer.
Oh, I heard Jack Plummer. I remember Hugo. I'm talking about Hugo Gulliver, who's now the women's head coach at Brooks.
Yeah,
who has obviously masterminded or been part of the Brooks mastermind of a good Henley.
The Temple of Seven,
yeah. We were at school. We were in the same class.
Okay, yeah, he was Latimer as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The enemy.
Yeah. Well, he's done really well.
So then, leaving school, going to uni, was rowing affect where you wanted to go?
Yeah, definitely.
But so at that point, you're really thinking about it now.
I was into it. I would have loved to have gone to Oxford or Cambridge. Well, obviously Cambridge as an undergrad, but I didn't have the grades, so I went to Imperial College and kind of thought I want to be there or a UL or something like that. And I studied there. It was a complicated story, but like Imperial was part of UL and then it broke away, so we kind of had to choose. And I initially started at UL, and it was an awesome club. Like, I have a lot of love for that. I feel anyone that's been through UL kind of has this eternal sort of bond to it.
Yeah, it's really good. They have a really hot alumni group, don't they? And like, I know a lot of people who really show passion for it. That's good.
Totally. And it's like, it kind of looks like it's like the gym from Rocky 3. It's like horrible.
Yeah, I know it. We were doing the eggs on and off sometimes, but yeah. like all the paint peeling off the walls kind of thing, yeah.
But then you kind of realize that that's the sort of the charm of it almost. It's like, it's just about the people and the work you do. And having said that, I did leave. To get my degree from Imperial College, I had to change my club. And also Steve Trapmore was moved to become the coach at Imperial College, and obviously he won the Olympics in the 8, and I kind of wanted to learn from him, so it made sense to move, and that was where I was actually studying. So saw out the rest of my undergrad degree career there, I guess.
Cool. So you got to talk about first under 23s, I guess, that we did together.
Yeah.
Which I guess you were back there for the scene. No, I missed. No, you missed that one. Yeah. That was how was that from your perspective? I guess that's the first time that was your first World Championships.
Yeah, well, it's second World Championships, first medal.
Okay. Oh no, yeah, because you went the year before in the 8 with Josh and
yeah.
You were ahead of me, yeah.
But man, it was awesome. I thought we were really, really good.
Yeah, I was probably like last man in the boat, so that was. I think we went like 5:29, didn't we?
Yeah, I think
we went.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, as a pretty young crew, yeah, like Dan Ritchie, Matt Rossiter, Noddy was in there.
Adlock, Kieran.
Kieran, Chris Abrahams, who else? I don't want to miss anyone out. Still Kieran in
Ben Duggan.
Ben Duggan, yeah. Oh, that was so good. The camp was so good before as well. Like staying at the Ryder Hotel, it was awesome. And having Henry Bellhat basically whip us into shape.
Yeah, I remember him just cycling along the bank, and kind of like everyone in the boat could row pretty well, so he was just sort of filling the niche that was left and was just screaming, "Pain is good, pain is good."
I remember feeling like, you know, people like Noddy and Dan had already been involved in the senior team. So like, I can't remember where I sat. I think I was washing my blade out a little bit on like Noddy, and Noddy was like not happy about it. But like Dan's in the middle of the list. I was like, somebody's gonna fucking kick. Dan was like, calm down, Noddy, to calm down. And then I'm like freaking out. Like, because also I remember before we went out to Worlds, the last speed test we did like a 2K flat out. And like 10 strokes to go, I caught like a bow stopper, like nearly a bow stopper. And I was like, I'm going to absolutely fuck this up. Such high level of nerves for that regatta. But yeah, no, I thought that was an awesome one. I still love the video. I don't know if I can find it anymore, but you chopped up a little video and put your mic up to it. Like, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good crew. I remember us just being able to do any drill we wanted, just like with no trouble. It was really fun to be. And I think it was the first time in a while that a GB under 23A had like, sure, we got bronze, but for a while we were in front. And it was like the first time in like a number of years where that happened. And I kind of...
That was like after the heat bar shut us down, I was like, not fucking good enough. And he was like, when you go out for that final, you can go. And we did.
Yeah. I think when we hit the front, I think him describing it to me, we hit the front at like the 1K or something. And him describing him like on the bike, it's working.
You can imagine him trying to. Who we were talking to before is the politics on the bikes along the back is quite funny. Like,
oh yeah, Andy Nee Robinson.
Yeah, he was saying like Jürgen, like it didn't matter like where his crew was, he would also like force his way to the front and I'd just like try and like mentally get in the heads of the other coaches,
just be 5 steps ahead of everyone else, and then like he's not gonna get told off by anyone.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I mean, like 323s, 2 medals and stuff. Obviously, at that point, still at uni, still doing that kind of thing. So then post uni, obviously, you sort of made the decision you wanted to go for it and go for senior stuff.
Yeah, I think I finished uni, and then I was kind of invited into the team ish. Like I was invited to like watch the team training or something. It was kind of like a funny wording, like. And I kind of thought, oh, this is I want to have a shot. And at the time, Phelan Hill was the Cox.
Yeah.
And so we just finished. This is kind of 2012. So they've just finished the Olympics. They got the bronze, and I kind of thought I've got probably not a great chance with the way things were. So I need to get a result. I need to find some pressure and get a result. So I kind of elected to not come in then and go spend a year at Cambridge doing an MPhil and doing the boat race, and then kind of hoping that I'd get like I'd learn a lot and kind of show what I can do. So I did that, and then following that came into the team.
It's difficult as a coxswain. There's only one seat, and if it's currently filled by someone who's been to Olympics, it's also going to be super hard to turn that over. But having said that, then 2017. No, was it? When did you do the Cox pair?
So did the Cox pair in 2014. So
I
came in 2014 and then ran the Cox pair 14, 15, 16, and I was given a go in the 8, just to keep feeling honest. It was just, I think feeling was always, I think he's an absolute class Cox, and his results show that. But I think Jürgen every now and then wanted to maybe give me a chance to like develop a bit, and then
for sure it's important. Like competition is key to success. Like we sort of spoke this before. No one's ever broken a world record with no other crew chasing them. You have to have that reason there to push. So how's a Cox pair then? Because obviously going from having done rapid 8s,
it was awesome, to be honest. Like,
I've never done one.
Oh man, we should do one. Like, it's so good. Like, I think I remember we sort of tested one with Scott and Alan Sinclair with the Cox pair in 2014, and we put it out for the first time. I remember, and we were doing some pieces with Adam Freeman Pask in the single next to us, and I remember we did one, and I'm like, guys, how was it? And because I'm in the front, and I really had a sense of them breathing, like more than in the 8. You could really hear them, like you're really close to them. And Scott sort of leans out and he says, I kind of feel like my body's being ripped in two.
Scott Durant.
Scott Durant, yeah. Scott Durant, Alan Sinclair, and but it was an amazing time. That was my first sort of senior world championship, and we were kind of that crew especially. There was an awesome cohesion with us. Like we kind of we all just wanted to make the boat better, and there was no. That's not to say the other ones weren't like that, but like I think because we were far enough out from the Olympics, you could be in it and still have that Olympic dream that's like a real burning fire. And I remember Scott was saying, I want to do this to put myself in the best position possible to get a gold medal in Rio.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that's awesome. But like, you're not you're not even in the Olympic class of events. There's all these people ahead of you. But sure enough, that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
So it's a bit different to the 8 as a boat class in that I feel in the 8, you're sort of dictating a bit.
Yeah.
In a Cox pair, you're kind of almost like, at least the way I pitched it was you're more the voice in their heads a bit.
Yeah.
Interesting that you made a decision to go to Cambridge in order to like develop as a Cox, because obviously like there is definitely so much that you're going to learn from, racing on a tideway, but also doing like preparation. Like Cox plays such an important role in that race. How much do you think that helped you with your international racing?
Oh, massively. I think it helped me massively. Like it was the most kind of high performance environment over a period of a season that I'd ever experienced. We had people from all over the world in the boat. So we were racing with guys that we'd raced in the American 8, and the Australian 8 were now in my 8. And and then I think as well, like as a coxing trial, it was really hard in that like you had international kind of coxes there too. So when I was there, we had a guy called Ed Bosson, who's a great cox, who coxed Cambridge the year before and they won. You had a guy called Sam Azurkis who had just won maybe 2 IRA titles on the trot. He won the under-23s for the US.
Wow.
And he actually went on to cox the US 8 at the Rio Olympics a few years later. So we were kind of just taking chunks out of each other. So I was learning so much, and I hope he was too. And I don't know, but it was probably quite a fierce rivalry.
There's probably not an international program in the world with that many coxes like going against each other.
Yeah, I think we probably, as a lineup, we had an awesome like roster of coxes. I think, like, to be fair to Sam, we were training and trialing to do a race on my track, like where I was like learned. So I wonder if we were, trialing somewhere else, maybe it would have, like, I was given the nod at the end. I wondered if it might have gone somewhere else, the other way if we were on a different stretch of water, but it went my way in the end. But I kind of learned so much and went through the mill so many times to get to that point. And so it was really, really valuable for me to kind of get that experience. And we lost. I probably should say that we lost to a really good Oxford crew. But I think I mean, you kind of talk to people about losing the boat race. I remember talking to some alumni after the race, and I asked them how long it takes to get over that loss, because it's one that really stings.
Yeah.
And the alumni guy puts his hand around my shoulder and says, I'll let you know when I get over it. And, but I have to say, I'm not really like that. I think I learned a lot from it. I'd love to have won, but I made some great friends in both crews, really, and it's part of the story. So,
well, absolutely. And the event is super stacked, obviously, with international athletes. So it must have been amazing for development. And obviously, when it comes to how much the loss can sting, like it's really difficult because you train for so many months for just one race, and the margins aren't even that big. If you were to race both crews over 2K, you'd find that there is not that much in it.
Oh, we definitely won. No,
it's crazy though. Like we did a bit of a breakdown on the one this year, and when you look over the distance, like a win of 2 lengths is such a tiny margin. And sometimes if you win by 2 or 3 lengths, it can look like, this year, Cambridge smashed Oxford and everything. Like, it's not smash. Like over 2K, if you win by 3 lengths, that's like it's a big margin. But mass, it's really hard. Yeah, it's a hard one for sure.
I wanted to ask about what it was like, obviously, coxing along someone like Phelan, because obviously he brings such good wealth of experience. Like you said, he really like knows what he's doing. How was it like learning from him and just like being alongside him in the team at the same time?
Oh, it was good. I think, I think I would say that we pushed each other, even though I'd still done a whole load of stuff by then, and I was kind of like, I had that sort of young, like, no fear, nothing to lose sort of vibe, and I think, and I was at that stage where you're kind of learning so much every day, like you might kind of like every day you're like a bit better. So I think it would be fair to say that I pushed him a bit, and it's absolutely fair to say that he pushed me.
Of course.
I think he's a great guy. Like he's so kind of chilled, but happy to share his knowledge, and it was awesome to we could have 2 weights side by side. I remember we used to do these sessions out in we do this training camp in Aviz, and we do sessions like where we put 2 weights out, and I remember I was just a little bastard at like I'd kind of like whatever the session was, I'd be kind of like, where's that 8? Like heading straight for it, and like trying to like get through all the bends before them, and then we would do ones where we'd go out, like we shoot 10k out, turn, meet, and then go 10k UT1 rate 20, like all the way back to the dock side by side. And
did you do your job as the second crew and rate 21 the whole way?
No, we were bang on rate 20. I had Scott Duran the stroke seat, like the absolute metronome, and but it was just awesome. And I probably not like Jürgen only let us do it a few times, because you know what happens when you put 8s next to each other, they just turn it up, and you know the session might be UT1, but what you're actually doing is just 10k as hard as you can.
Yeah.
So but when we did it, it was amazing, and it's kind of like and yeah, so there were these awesome moments that probably only like the people in the boat would have seen. I don't think there's any video, but yeah, it was awesome having like someone of that caliber where you could do that kind of work next to for that long. Yeah, it was great.
It's awesome. It's rare at a club. You know, I guess someone like Brooks now have that ability to do that kind of stuff. But like you're saying, talking about high performance environment, obviously Leander is a high performance environment, but the numbers were low when I was there. Through my under 23 years, you don't have another 8 to race, you know, and then you go to Met Marlow, Wallingford, and there's not really anyone else to race, and then you turn up at Henley, and all of a sudden it's Harvard, and you're like, you haven't had any of these all year. So like it's like so valuable to get that side by side stuff in an 8, and so rare, like you said, to be able to have that opportunity.
It's great if you can have that sort of competition. And also, like, I just remember like one time meet the athletes down at Leander, and I didn't, because I used to scull, so I never really like had that much involvement with coxes. But then what really put like into perspective how hard coxing really is when Fieldman started talking about, you know, just really analyzing the data. Like he knew exactly how fast the second or third 500 of the German 8 at the time was, and like what their split was like. So
I think I remember a story from when the German 8 left their 8 out unattended at like a World Cup once, and like Fieldman snuck over and measured everything. I don't know what you would gain from that, but just the psychological advantage of I know their setup.
Yeah, no, definitely. He was very good with the numbers and things like that, and yeah, that it's coxes. You do. I remember we raced the Germans so many times when I was in the men's 8 for in the run up to Tokyo, and then you kind of knew their race plan by the time you kind of coming to the point, and sometimes you had the power to like preempt stuff, and sometimes you didn't, but you kind of knew, right? Okay, we're like, I think it'll be maybe 900 in. They're going to do something like whatever, and most crews do something around it, but you kind of knew that they were going to do whatever it was then, and it would probably produce about 2 seats. So yeah, coxes up, you know, yeah, it's definitely part of it. Like,
how much in a international race can you still hear what other coxes are calling, or how much are you maybe trying to listen to? Obviously in Henley, I would say you're probably doing that more.
Yeah, you can hear. I think like you can hear you. It's hard to hear all the calls and stuff, but you can definitely hear the tone of things. And I like some of the races more recently listening back, and I've been interested to hear, you know, you do those exhibition races or those preliminary races more in the women's 8 now, because haven't had like more than 6 entries in the last few races. So you're kind of interested to hear, how hard are these other crews going? You kind of can listen back to my tape and you kind of hear like how like the intensity of the calls the other coxes. and you kind of have a little bit of that on the run as well. So you can hear a bit. I'd struggle to hear like specific calls and tactics. But, yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's going to be in a different language as well.
Yeah, that's tough.
Absolutely.
So, like, how good's your Romanian?
With whatever point of the race they're going.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, by the time you come to do World Championships, you would have probably done a circuit of a World Cup 1, World Cup 2, World Cup 3, potentially Europeans. So you can kind of, like you said, measure like who's going to make what move at what position in the race. So then it kind of becomes like a game of chess almost, because you know how fast your horse is in the race. And how do you then try and play any mind games, or like how often does it come to a position where you have to like change the race plan in order to alter the outcome of the race? Because obviously if you know that you're going at a certain speed, you can probably kind of understand the potential of what you can get out of the crew. I was wondering like how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think with other people, and that's like if there are any coxes listening and they're kind of wondering about learning a crew's race plan or an opposition crew's race plan through the year, they'll always be developing as well. So it absolutely could change as yours would too. In answer to your question, I think we're trying to develop our best race plan throughout the season, I guess. And on the one hand, like it's like a non-contact sport, so you're just in your lane, and no matter where you are on the opposition, you kind of, to a certain extent, you want to be a little bit bullish that, you know, what we're doing is what we're doing, and we've kind of worked it out that this is how we can get the fastest speed. But you've also got to as the cox, you've got to be monitoring it, and even though you might have executed the plan exactly as you thought you could, maybe you're kind of checking the speeds, checking the field, checking the conditions, thinking actually no, we've undercooked this and we need to start putting the boot in a little bit earlier than we thought. So you kind of have that racing nous, I guess, to adapt it if you feel like you need to.
Yeah, ultimately it's like more about your performance, isn't it, on houses? But then you get into that top where you're looking at that 1%, that tiny little performance gains and stuff like that. I mean, we used to have, it never worked at international level, but rowing at the under and stuff, we'd all sometimes sort of 950 get the cox to scream and call really loudly, but we wouldn't actually go. And then to try and make them to respond and then wait. And then as they come off their 10, they bang go.
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, you can scare like club crews doing it, but no one in an international crew is gonna be like too worried.
I was just wondering, like, obviously, do you think you would race any faster if you were racing from point A to point B on your own and executed your race plan perfectly, versus like how much does the adrenaline from like also like having other crews next to you at the international level like help with sort of like getting more out of what you can?
I think it is a big part of it. Like, I think you absolutely, you want to. One thing our coach on the women's team, Andrew Randall, says is, you got your race plan, like stick to your plan, but if the plan's not working, change the plan. So and I guess in terms of like not working, maybe that's like, are we on the speeds or are we not winning, I guess. And I guess every program will kind of have a different way of judging that. But yeah, ultimately we're here to win and finish in front. So yeah, it definitely spurs us on. And if we're a little bit down, we'll do everything we can to get back up. And if we're a little bit up, we'll do everything we can to open the gap, I guess.
So obviously coming off the back of Cambridge and doing the World Championships in 2014, 2015, how did you find like the lead up to Rio?
I was fully committed to making that boat, coxing the men's eight in the Rio Olympics. And I sort of thought, I guess I started the 2015 season, I thought, right, I've got to make this happen. So I'm going to kind of have this sort of private goal of winning everything and always being in front whenever we're on the water. So I basically went on this kind of mission to do that. And I managed it. So we didn't lose a single race, like heat, semi-final, domestic or international, for basically 2 years. And so I kind of feel like I gave it everything I could. But, you know, I guess maybe if I put it like this, at the end of the 2015 season, there were only three Coxes, maybe three Coxes in like in the sort of non-para events. They were world champions. I was one, but Fieldman was the other. And so, like, even though I kind of gone on this huge this really successful run, Fieldman was still the obvious choice. He kind of, he was winning races as well. He was winning the big ones. He'd been to the Olympics before. So, and if you ask me now who should go, just like the obvious decision, Fieldman should be that Cox, and he was. So Jürgen selected Fieldman, and he sat me down and said, basically, he thinks I'm really good, but I lack that experience. So he wanted me to go to kind of take a year away and then come back in 2017. So I started coach UL women's team for a year, which was awesome. But then I kind of like towards the end of that, I came back into the team to coach the pair again at the non-Olympic Worlds. So that was Callum O'Briety and Ollie Cook. And like that was awesome. We had an awesome time, and it was really tough for them because they were rowing in the team. They were, they really wanted to be in the Olympics, and they were, missed out in the end, unfortunately. But we were given this opportunity to race still at the non-Olympic Worlds in the Cox pair, and it was a funny time because you were kind of part of this team, and then they went off to Rio, and you really wanted them to do well. You were kind of wanted to be with them for it, and then we were suddenly just this outfit of three. But we had people would just find the Cox pair fascinating. People didn't Cox pair, I'll help them. And we had Christian Felkel came and helped us. John West, who had coached us in 14 and 15 in the Cox pair, was helping a bit as well. And we ended up kind of winning that event. And it was to be fair to those guys, like it was a good event. It was people had come back from the Olympics to race that event. So we kind of finished, even though we kind of ultimately fell short of where we wanted to be in the Olympic team. We still finished up pretty well, and we're kind of in a good place to launch our push into the 2017 season.
Focusing on the process will bring you more results than focusing on the results itself. And obviously you cannot control the outcome, but I'm sure that like you giving absolutely everything for like 2 years straight in order to make that Rio team definitely helped the team like with whatever happened at those Olympics, like obviously with that success, because unless the team is really, really competitive, then you never know, like when it comes down to like really cutthroat racing, sometimes those extra 2% will make all the difference. So no, that's kudos. And then
I think you talk about it, didn't you, about training like you race, or always training and always racing with the best for the best chance that you can, because you could give it absolutely everything and not make the team, or you can give it absolutely everything and lose by a length or 2 legs or whatever. But one day there'll be that race where you're head to head and there's a foot in it, like Europeans or whatever. And having then spent all those times, even when you knew you weren't going to win or you weren't in your favourite boat class, that's when it counts, and it comes in, and then that's how you make those wins when it counts. So, yeah, that's the difference. It's like applying yourself and making sure that you are putting everything in all the time. And like you said, you can talk about there's so many people, like Ollie Cook for so long, just sat down the bottom, like not quite making it, not quite making the Worlds, not quite making an Olympics. He said Scott being in the pair 4 years later, making the 8. Like you can talk about so many people where they actually, there's a lot of people, maybe he's not made it, maybe it's time to jack it in or whatever. But that single-minded focus of like just push, and that's how you become successful.
It's amazing, and it's like maybe not just at like Olympic level, whatever kind of you're doing, just like working with people that are like-minded in that way, and you kind of create these amazing bonds with people where you kind of, I don't know, you almost feel like family, and you kind of do anything for them, and they do anything for you just to kind of get you to the point you want to be. And I think certainly
it's controlled war. You're going to war together.
Yeah.
Like, obviously no one dies, and so there's not, we spoke about this before, there's not that fear of death, but you're going to feel like you died when you cross the finish line. But in terms of, those bonds, and there's still people I know, like I met up with Dave Bauer at Henley qualifiers, and I hadn't seen him for years, but like it was like yesterday that we were running together. And even like with you, I probably haven't seen you for a while, but it's just like straight back into the memory. It's like, it's a bond that's difficult to get elsewhere. And I think also like in rowing specifically as that sport, it's amplified because of the format of the crew. Like you are a team, but you are like one thing, and you have to become one thing incredibly well together. You don't have necessarily different jobs. You all have the one same job, same focus. And so I think that's why it kind of like forces that feeling a bit more maybe than other sports.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it's kind of, I mean, it's funny. I had this conversation with, do you remember Angel Fournier Rodriguez, the Cuban skier that passed away recently?
Yeah.
We had a conversation once, and he didn't speak any English. At least, I don't think he did.
Not much.
He was, so we were speaking through a translator, and he was asking why, how much we get if we win a medal, how much money we get, and I was saying we get nothing.
Yeah.
And I was watching the translator pass this message on to him. He's sort of his completely kind of unflappable exterior, suddenly kind of surprised at this kind of revelation. And I think that's kind of because we're all in it, not for the money, but like because we love it, and we love this pursuit of whatever goal it might be. And perhaps if there was loads of money in it, it might be different. I don't know. We'll never know.
Yeah.
But I think there is that sort of like that shared kind of love of what we're doing, which brings us together in like a special way, which I really enjoy.
It's just, I mean, I'm sure we haven't been involved in other sports. I'm sure there's other sports where people feel the same way about it. But like we've talked before about rowing, it just, you don't just have one foot in. You know, it becomes your world. Some people say, oh, row is like all they talk about, all they think about is rowing. And it's like, yeah, because to row at a high level, that's all you can do. That your entire life does become rowing. It is your world. It is everything that you have to eat, sleep, drink, breathe, like just everything, you know.
I think potentially because it's also the pursuit of the goal that is not money driven is what actually makes it more fun, because it's not motivated by like financial situation. You just want to win. You don't care about anything else but that medal, but that win, but that team selection. So that's
there's a great interview with Ayrton Senna. Have you seen when he's asked what his favorite time was in racing? And he's like back in Brazil in the go-karts.
Because it was involved, real racing.
Yeah, and it was for nothing other than the glory of winning. And I can sympathize a little bit in terms of, for a long time we all wanted to earn money to do this, and like because it allows you to keep doing it. But also I look back at my career and be like, that's also kind of when money got involved. That's the time you're like, oh shit, this is my job now. Like, you know, my first couple of years at Leander, I'm 19, like there's nothing else to do. I don't give a shit. Like I'm just all in, invested. Like, and then you get a bit older and like, I need to make this happen now. I need to earn something in order to be able to keep doing it, in order to justify to myself that I should be here. So like, that purity of just doing it for the sake of doing it I think can be like overlooked.
Absolutely. So interesting that you've been asked by Jürgen to sort of like take a year out, and then you took a step towards coaching. How was that for you? Do you think that like affected your coxing in any way?
Yeah, I think it's very positive to like step outside and kind of see the sport from a different angle. And I ended up actually kind of doing a bit of coxing and coaching. So people would come down for a session. The cox, had a lecture that overran. So then I'd take them out, and then the next day I'd be in the launch again. So you kind of could see the things you're working on and feel them, and then kind of draw like kind of correlations and stuff. And so I think it was really good. And also it's awesome working with like students, because it's exactly the same. They're just there because for the love of it. And so I think it was really positive for me. Obviously, I probably through the whole time I was sort of wishing I was maybe in the Olympic team, but no, it was really, really special. And like that the people that kind of live in that boathouse or like move through the boathouse, there's so much passion there that it just rubs off on you a little bit, and you then take that into the next thing. So that was a great time.
I guess like you've got two options when you don't quite achieve what you want, or you don't quite get the position where you were. There's some people that are like, oh, sod it, I'm like, whatever, I'm over it, or you like put your hand in the fire and it's like, right, I'm going to turn it up, or I'm going to do something about it. I think like again, that's probably for me like a sign of a like a good athlete or champion or whatever, is that when you get those setbacks, because everyone does, you've got to use that to stoke the fire. And like for you, like finding other ways, like trying to improve in different ways. We spoke with Ben Lewis. You can't make something 100% better, but you can make 100 things 1% better. So just trying to like up that almost as in a competition way with yourself. Would you say, like, internally, obviously you said like it's hard in 2016 to see that crew without you, or, you know, or see that team not doing, like, how would you say, or how would you give people advice in terms of when you didn't quite get where you want to be?
I mean, I think it was a really hard, like, it was, I wanted them to do well without me. I would say that, but it was kind of, you also want to, but, you know, it's a kind of funny one, but I would say, you know, I think it's hard. I think I'd just say take some time and like this, you hardly have any time to yourself these days. It's always like a phone ringing or something, or you just have this compulsion to look at a screen. But I think probably just take some time and kind of think it through. I think for us, like, I was sure that that wasn't going to be the year. I wasn't going to give up at that point. So I could just, you know, feel as good as feel good for that crew and, you know, be excited about pushing to the next thing. But yeah, I think when you try and achieve something and it doesn't work out the way you wanted, I think it's an opportunity to like define your character a little bit and work out, you know, who you want to be. And I would say that carefully, in that people say, you know, I would say never give up. But that doesn't necessarily mean keep going forever. I say, like, you know, perhaps, you know, whatever one might be doing, and there might be a situation where doing it that way at that time isn't a good idea, but your pursuit of excellence or your pursuit of wanting to achieve something great, like, you know, never give up on those things. But kind of seek those moments out, which are difficult, and use them as a chance to define who you want to be. Because, like, we're never going to be the finished article, but we're always trying to become better and try and become that finished article that we kind of envisage. But it's never going to be done. And there's like a journey in that. There's maybe but there's a pleasure in that too. I would say. Yeah,
I like that. I've heard a few people talk about seek discomfort, and there's a interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger where he says, like, I don't like being comfortable. Comfortable makes you lazy. Right? I would put myself in a place where I'm not super comfortable, and I'm going to force myself to change. And I think that's something you kind of got to be aware of, especially like a difficult sport like rowing. Like, you can't be comfy. I mean, another thing I think I heard, I can't remember who said it now, but it was if you're doing something right, look at the rule of thirds. So a third of the time you should be happy with what you're doing. A third of the time you should be pretty unhappy and uncomfortable. And a third of the time you should be like really happy. But like, if you're always comfortable, you're not going to be pushing. If you're always uncomfortable, you're not going to get anywhere. So it's like a term of being aware that, like, there's times in your life where, like, it's going to be a struggle. But then also it's kind of the whole point of getting somewhere. Like, the struggle is what makes it worth doing. Like, if you didn't struggle and there were no bad times, then when you had the good times, they wouldn't really mean as much. So yeah, like, you
need that polarity for sure.
Yeah, I thought I heard another one. Someone said it was like, the purpose of life is not to be happy. The purpose of life is to live life, and life isn't constant happiness, despite what social media quite often tells us.
Yeah, you shouldn't like wake up every day and think, how can I become happy today? You should think, what would I need to do to feel proud of myself today? And then just go and do that thing.
Delayed gratification, working towards a goal further away allows you to, I mean, no one loves their job every day. Like, it's not possible. Again, I'm not sure if I told this on the podcast before. I remember you said boating from Leander, you boat, the cars queued to come over the bridge on the other side of the bridge. They're all going off to London to work. And I remember it's like snowing or raining or whatever, you boat and sitting there, and I could see people in their cars just being like, fuck that. But then I remember I'm sat in my single going, fuck that. Like, I only sat in traffic, like going to a job in London, like commuting every day. Like, I'm like, yeah, it kind of sucks being in the snow, but like at the same time, like, I'm where I want to be.
oh man, there's so many amazing moments. And then when you kind of go a bit further down the track at Leander, and you kind of, in the kind of winter when there's that mist, and you're kind of cutting through it, and it's kind of like you're on this sort of river, and it's like hills, and it's kind of wide open space, but it's kind of like almost this privacy to it. And it's this kind of awesome thing that you're doing with these other people, and it's just, there's something so special about it. And it's funny, like I kind of thought maybe my career was over after Tokyo. I kind of thought, oh, maybe I need to stop. And I started to think about it as a sort of a thing, with a bookend at that point. And then you kind of, at least for me, I was sort of thinking about, oh, if I could relive bits of it, which bits would I want to relive? And like, honestly, there are some races which were awesome, but there was probably those moments in between where you're kind of like struggling to do whatever it is, or like you're kind of coming together as a group in training and trying to produce whatever it might be. I think if I could maybe like, you could transport a camera back in time and like view it, I probably would want to look back at those moments more than some of the other ones. So
yeah, definitely. I think sometimes the quiet moments are better than the busy ones, but also I sort of think those hard moments, it's like the price to pay to get those great moments. Like it's, so I think like when it's really sunny in June, July, you're out on the water getting a tan, like that's amazing. And, I could be down at Henley Regatta, see a group and bus, be like, oh, I'd like that. But then also remember in my head, but you don't just get to go and do that bit without paying the price earlier. Like the snow, the sleet, the hail, the cold, wet kit, like that's the price you pay to have the really good bit.
What you see in the summer is the house, but what you build in the winter is the foundation for the house to be built on, and then one cannot exist without the other.
Totally. I mean, it makes me think of this weekend just gone, a really good result in the women's 8, and Annie Camelord is stroking it, and the camera's sort of on her quite a bit, and she's doing a good job, like really nice stretch out, like long strokes and all these things. In the winter, she was at Leander, training at Leander, and I was doing some coaching there, and she was in the single, and it was some day in like January, it was so cold, and she kept stopping because the ice was forming in her slides, and she's kind of, just getting really fed up and having to like, she did the session, kept doing it, but had to keep chiseling out. She had to borrow a 10 mil to keep chiseling ice out of the slides. It's like a really tough day, but then it's sort of it's part of this awesome story, this awesome kind of, I guess, position she's in now, where she's kind of going really well, and yeah, it's great to see. Of course,
that's amazing. All right, so I want to hear, obviously coming off the back of your World Championship with Coxswain in 2016, how was the lead up to Tokyo? What changed in the team, and how did you approach like coming up to that to the Tokyo Olympics?
Being in the top spot.
Absolutely, top dog.
So it was quite a different time for British rowing. We had because the team was so successful in 2016, a lot of people retired, and so we're getting a lot of new people in from kind of top end university programs, but without that kind of international experience. So in 2017, we were faced with a bit of a rebuilding year. We had some great Olympians still around, like in the 8, we had Tom Ransley and Alan Sinclair. I think in the Coxswain 4, we had Will Shatch and Mohammed Fahi, of course. Hope I've not forgotten anyone else from that 2016 team, but we weren't anywhere near as good as the year before. We finished up, we got a few medals that year. We finished up 7th in the 8. It's pretty terrible. But we were kind of, we'd taken that first step to rebuilding, where we, where we're building towards where we wanted to be.
Seventh in the world is terrible. We talked about this with Jack. It's the the bad bit about being really, really successful, obviously. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, I guess relatively it was pretty.
Yeah.
But so that was a really tough year. And I think also as an organization, we were kind of trying to work out, what we were about, and there was a lot of changes going on. I think that was the season that David Tanner, our performance director, left. So that's we got, Brendan Purcell came in to replace him. But, with any change, there's a bit of turbulence. So there was just, things were kind of moving around us. But 2018, we kind of kicked on in a much better way. Jürgen had decided he was going to coach the 8. So that's the kind of the first time I was coached kind of solely by Jürgen, which was pretty awesome.
Intimidating.
Oh yeah. His presence just kind of makes you like a little bit, I'd say probably a little bit better.
Yeah.
I always, there's always this mysticism around Jürgen. And I remember the first time he ever spoke to me, it was many years before that. I was an under 23 Cox, and he came up and said, "Are you the under 23 Coxes? I need you to go and do some bullshit task or something." But I was kind of like, Jürgen has spoken to me. But so now he was our coach, and I guess the results started to come a little bit better, and we had a much clearer idea of what we wanted to do. And Jürgen's very clear about how he wants to row the 8. Like his coaching is so simple, and so effective. So we kind of, I think we kicked on pretty well. We were kind of like second A in Europe, maybe, like behind the Germans. And then we had a bit of a kind of dip through the Europeans. A real shame. The only Europeans to be in the UK, in Glasgow. We really messed that up. I think we had a bit of illness in the boat, to be fair. But then we kind of came back a bit stronger towards the end, and finished up with a bronze medal with the World Champs. And we went through the absolute mill. I think the heat, it was such a fast race. We had the Australians and the Americans. I think they were both maybe under 5:20. We were third with like a 5:20 and a bit or something like that.
Wow.
And but then we were kind of faced with the repechage of death, where you got to come top. I think you had to come top 2. No, you had to come top 1. I think maybe it was top 2. But anyway, I remember it was such a. If you ever get James Rudkin on here, ask him about this race, because he absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
The repechage was really early, so we had to the hotel was at the sort of the finish of the start. No, yeah, the hotel was by the start of this leg. So we kind of got up and we're kind of running down the track. It's like dark. It kind of felt like you were on the way to like steal something. Not that I'd never know what that's like, but it kind of it was something kind of very unique about that like race. And there was this kind of tension. Jürgen gave us this like epic kind of like basically get this done kind of speech. And we went off the start and we just didn't look back. It was probably our best race of the year, was that repechage. So we got our place in the final and had an awesome race. At one point we were very, very competitive for the front, but we didn't quite make it, and we ended up third. But like for us at the time, that was great. It was like our first senior, my first senior medal. So I was very pleased about that. It just kind of felt like, right, we're back on track now. We're 7th. You needed to be top 5 to qualify, and now we're 3rd. So we're back on track. Here we go.
So I mean, that's absolutely awesome to hear that even with a new and up and coming squad, you still managed to get a bronze medal at World Championship, which is obviously great. When you said that Jürgen's coaching style is quite simple, in what way?
So Jürgen is like mainly focused on, I'd say it, certainly in the 8, he'd be mainly focused on how we're picking the boat up around the front and how we're placing and how we're initiating drive. And that would basically be the theme kind of all the way through the season. And maybe it would kind of expand out one way or the other, kind of work on a bit of blade preparation or like really holding the angle of the body out of the front. But it was basically all about that. So you knew exactly what your job was, like what my job was to kind of reinforce with the crew, and what their job was in terms of what Jürgen wanted to see.
That's great. I mean, you can't obviously deny that Britain is not strong at the front end at all. Like the British hangers, I'm pretty sure what every country in the world watches out for, and they try to like imitate. Like, how do they do this? Like, how is the catch like always so connected and everything? So I just wanted to know.
What was that? I was going to say practice makes perfect, but what was the saying?
Ben Lewis said practice makes permanent.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not searching for perfection. You're searching for consistency, I guess. Yeah.
Like that.
Cool. So then I guess we don't have to go too much into COVID and all that stuff, but in general, sort of run up to the Olympics or how that event was. I guess you can't really talk about it without talking about COVID, but yeah.
I guess, of course we kind of had a 2019 similar sort of season came third at the Worlds at the end, and then we started to win a few races, and then coming into 2020, we had a pretty good winter, and then there's this kind of news about this pandemic thing, and we kind of had this really dramatic like end to training together, where we were like, I think rules had just come out saying you couldn't be inside together. So we kind of, I forget exactly the day, but basically there was a kind of final day of Olympic trials that we had. And we turned up to Caversham thinking that it was going to be a day of trials. The weather was really bad. And so they decided to cancel the trial and just announce the team then and there. So, but because of the guidelines, we were sort of outside at the back of Caversham by the lake, and the sort of wind like raging, and Jürgen's basically announcing the Olympic team, and it's kind of like a kind of thinking, I mean, this is something that you'd kind of always dreamed of being in, and then now it's sort of happening. And then they announce the team, and then they say, right, everyone get an ergo and go home, and we'll update you as to what we can do. And then I think within a week the Olympics was postponed, and so we were kind of faced with just like, as everyone probably knows, just training on our own. We had a kind of like everyone probably, we had like a sort of a WhatsApp group, and we kind of checked in with each other twice a week on Zoom, and we shared training data to try to keep us motivated and stuff like that. But yeah, kind of did that all the way through the rest of that sort of, we'll see that season out. We tried to like finish up with a kind of performance piece at the end, so people would do like a 2K. I think I was doing a 5K run.
Not erging.
No, they wouldn't actually give me an erg. Yeah, so that was that. It was like an interesting time for everyone, I guess. And then 2021 Olympic year. By this point, there's been some more changes in the team. We've lost Jürgen by this point. Yeah, that was pretty tough for us, because we were sort of, he was our coach, he was our head coach, but also coach of our boat.
Yeah.
So that was quite a tough one to swallow, and we were not really on the inside of that at all. It just sort of was, caught us all by surprise. But yeah, things kind of got reshuffled a bit, and we ended up with with Steve Trapmore looking after us. So that was kind of, he's obviously a fantastic coach. He coached me at Imperial College, he coached me at Cambridge, and now he was kind of coaching us for this, and he knows about eights. Like, I mean, if anyone wants to see out a great example of rowing, he's probably looking at the 8 that he was in 2000. It's like an amazing race. So yeah, we were under his guidance for the 2021 season, and we kind of kicked on pretty well. We started off with the European champs, and we had this awesome race that was kind of us Germans, the Romanians, I think maybe the Dutch were there too, and kind of true to normal form, Germany got out to like almost a length, like maybe 800 meters, but you kind of sense that they weren't quite right. And then we kind of started to just chop through them, and then came through to the win, and we hadn't beaten the Germans for, at an event like that, we hadn't beaten them. So that was pretty awesome for us. We kind of thought, right, we're on here, it's all going well. And then we raced them again at World Cup 2 a few weeks later, and it was quite a different affair. It was kind of, they beat us in the prelim, and then we beat them in the final by 0.03 of a second. So it was like an awesome race. I just got it. So yeah, we were going well. And then that was our racing done, and it was kind of time to gear up for the games.
And that's all you got is like two international races. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's all we got. Sorry, it's been more to hit. So yeah, what we got now, we had our kind of
pre-camps.
Yeah, we had our pre-games camps. We started, our first one was in Varese in Italy, and then we moved into Silvretta, so 2 weeks, and then we kind of moved into a holding camp. And it was a weird time, like being so kind of locked down, and we had to do so many COVID tests and all this kind of stuff. And I think, to be honest, we kind of lived a little bit in fear. That the impression we got was that if any one of us tested positive, that would be us done for the year, and it would also kind of completely destroy the boat we were in. So there was this sort of fear the whole time, and it was funny, like post everything, and you kind of talk to other Olympians and some of the swimmers who'd had COVID maybe 3 times and then went to the Olympics and got some amazing results. But for whatever reason, we were kind of, we were trying to be super careful, but it probably made us a little bit kind of tense throughout the whole time. And so yeah, it was a real challenge, as I'm sure it was for everyone else doing whatever they were doing. But that was our kind of reality. And
it's easy looking back now, sort of knowing there's more information out, and you could just get it and nothing happens. But it's so easy to forget that back then you just didn't know, and it was hitting people differently. And I can imagine, it would just be like, just add an extra level of tense, and it's like you said, that you just do not need in the run up to the Olympics.
I'm amazed that you guys managed to like get through with that, just like all negative tests as well.
Well, I mean, I think at one point we had like a false positive, so we were, it was. I think we kind of, because we hadn't had contact with anyone, and then one of the guys generates this positive test. I'm thinking, how on earth has this happened? I can't believe it. And then we tested again, and it was negative. We tested it, probably 5 times more, and it was negative. So, but
just to be sure,
it was just I mean, a bit of course, once that test came out, everything was locked down. The 8 was kind of put in the hotel rooms. Couldn't come out for whatever it was, like 24 hours or something like that. Testing. So it was such a funny time. Like, I think, it was, we were really lucky to be able to do what we wanted to do, and that the games was actually happening, and that we were allowed to train together. But it was also challenging as well.
It made that entire Olympiad like much, much longer, because obviously they were a year delayed, but they also, I think they were a month ahead of schedule, but a year delayed. So going into Tokyo, how was that? Like, what was the vibe like with the crew? Did you go there with attitude that you're going to win, or that you're going to medal, or?
Yeah, I think we actually were the top seed going in, after, I guess, the season we'd had. So we were feeling pretty good. I think we did, perhaps. I think when we actually, we sort of, I guess the way we were running things was we got out to Tokyo, and then we had to, because of the various restrictions, we couldn't move into the village, and we couldn't move into the competition venue when we would perhaps like to. So we ended up having to do a lot of stuff on the ergo for like a week leading up until when we could actually get the boat out and stuff. So I think we felt pretty good. But perhaps looking back, if we could possibly have got out on the water a little bit more, a little bit earlier, we might have been in better stead. But as it was, we kind of like, we kind of hit that camp as best we could, and then and then eventually moved into the village, and then into the competition venue.
So then the race there, I guess, in general, how was the water? How did you feel it went, and walk through that?
Obviously, it's what you wanted to do. It's what you wanted to do in Rio, and now you got the chance to do it in Tokyo. It was obviously a different type of Olympics, but like, you must have been pretty excited going into the whole event.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It was like something I'd wanted to do for so long, and to be kind of, named in the 8 and kind of living that life for that period was just amazing. And I remember when we got to the village itself, and you kind of get there, and there's all this like Olympic kind of branding everywhere, and GB had this block of houses, or sorry, this like almost like apartment block, which was just GB. So all the athletes lived there, all the coaches lived there, and like it's decked out with Team GB logos and stuff like that. And then we move in, and I just could not sleep at all. Like that first night, I was so excited. It is kind of like nothing else. And I know.
I've heard you get like 60 kilos of kit as well.
Oh, like that. It's crazy the amount of kit. We sort of, I think my family for the next like birthday, Christmas, just like, yes, I've got you this Olympic kit. It's absolutely mental.
I started doing that with Rowgear kit, because we've had so much Rowgear stuff made. Like, Mum and Dad, here's a Rowgear sliders.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, and then you get all these gifts when you go as well. Like, it's mad actually thinking about it. Like, we got given a phone.
Really?
There's like a Samsung phone with the Olympic like logo on it that every athlete got given.
Amazing.
It's crazy.
And it's not just the regular edition; it's like a specific one for just the Olympians.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And I was just so excited. Just like I remember my particular room kind of looked out onto Tokyo Bay, and you had the Rainbow Bridge. It was just and I would kind of try and go for like little walks or runs in the evening just to keep the gold, keep the belly under control. And you're kind of running around, and you've kind of got this whole like story of like, I guess, trying to do something really well, going through the ups and downs to get there, and then you're there, and there's these other people who have got all of their own sort of stories to get them there, and you're kind of thinking, I'd love to know, but you can possibly, there's so many of them, and you sort of, I was like running around this bit of the village, and you kind of running past boxers who were sparring, and I even ran kind of near some Kenyans. They were very fast. I was never going to get faster, but
just stay with them for like 10 seconds.
They're just warming up, and it was it's kind of mad. And then we couldn't go outside the village because of the restrictions and what have you. But I'd sort of try and fit in a reasonable run, so I'd run to the edges of the village, and then there would be some Japanese kind of locals, I guess, who would be kind of waiting at the edges, just waving at you, and you kind of wave back, and it was just it's crazy. It's a crazy kind of experience, and you kind of there's part of you that wants to really take it in and like try and make mental notes, but then also you're there to kind of do this job, and so it's a funny one.
What about the food hall?
Oh, the food hall is crazy. Like obviously I couldn't really eat so much because I was sort of in full race trim, but you could kind of like have whatever you wanted basically, and as much of it.
And there's like a McDonald's in there as well.
There wasn't actually this time. Apparently there normally was, but I think they weren't involved this time. But there's kind of that equivalent.
Yeah.
And you basically just whatever cuisine you like, get it, come back, and then if you want more, go get it. And then there's like a whole floor above that with basically the same sort of stuff. With COVID, we had like all these screens up and things, and so it's a bit funny. But so I remember like I was kind of like making notes as I went around, like after the final. Man, I think I was so like, my stomach was so little by the end. I had all these chicken wings. I managed like 3 gyoza. I was like, I'm full.
I always remember after under 23s, like in the airport on the flight back, seeing the lightweights come back from McDonald's with like, I think one time Will Fletcher has like 12 burgers.
Oh my God. You treat yourself.
Shout out Will, yeah. I think he ate them all as well. Pretty impressed by that.
Nice. So that's unlimited sushi in a food hall at Japanese Olympics.
Oh, amazing.
And then the other rumour I've heard a lot about is the Oakley store at the Olympics. Like once you make an A final, don't you get to go and get a pair or something like that?
Oh, I don't know. We were kind of encouraged not to move around too much. So I don't know
if it didn't happen, yeah.
But we got given a whole load of them. That was also, and I like came back and saw like my family. It's in Oakley. So. But what? Yeah, I think what did we try to think? There was one. I think A6 were there, and they had this sort of thing like, we're going to measure your feet with this laser measurer, and we're going to give you some shoes that perfectly fit. And so I thought, that sounds amazing. We went there, and it was just kind of you kind of put your foot on this thing, which is basically it's like kind of theatre.
Yeah.
This like random someone's like with a laser pen, just like, oh, your size is this, and then you get it. It's like, that's not my size. They're like, well, what is your size? I'm like, it's this, and I'm like, no. But you got us some free shoes, so that was kind of cool. No, it was just crazy. It was a really kind of amazing sort of vibe, and it was funny as well, like because you kind of there's all these different people from different nations, like with different kit on, but you kind of feel like there's something you've all got in common, and that's like you're a 2021 like Olympian, and you're all trying to achieve this thing. It's just I don't want to get too emotional about it, but it was quite like. It was special. I
think you should be. I want it to be. I want to know that it is. You want to know that when you get it, that it's worth doing. And I think you want to know that the pursuit was worth it. So it's good. It's good to hear.
So how long were you in the village before the racing started?
I'm not great with remembering details, but probably I don't know, probably a ballpark like 4 days, something like that. Not too long. But we got a good few days training on the lake. The lake itself was quite like, I think it was quite like, it was basically they'd like taken a sort of shipping canal and or a shipping lane or whatever you call it, like something on the shore, and basically dammed it. So it was kind of like water was pretty good, but there was a lot of wind around. So you kind of predominantly kind of go off the start, and there would be a bit of a tailwind, and you come up like through the sort of like third or fourth 500, it'd be a massive crosswind, and then go a bit further, and it would kind of turn into a cross tail, and then it would be more like tail again. So it was very like quite like tricky, I guess. But yeah, we got a good few days on it before we kicked in.
And then just heat and final?
No, we had a heat rep final. It was quite. We certainly had a really tough regatta. We went in as the top seed, and then we probably weren't as like probably weren't rowing as well as we had done earlier in the season, and like it was a reasonable amount of disruption we had to sort of contend with. So, but you got to roll with the situation you're in, and our heat was quite an interesting one in terms of like you kind of expect that. And I guess I think you were saying earlier, you sort of like expect the unexpected kind of thing. And we had like the unexpected, basically. We kind of got attached. And I think because no one had like run a race for a while. Well, I mean, there'd been a few, but a lot of people that maybe were normally involved in running races just were a bit out of practice. And we got attached. The sort of, in these races, you have like a plastic boot that comes up and like kind of grabs your bow. And you kind of sit in that. So you don't have to worry about the crosswind. It just kind of holds you straight. Anyway, we're in this boot, and then something starts happening with the boat. It just starts kind of vibrating in a weird way. And I wasn't really sure what was going on. But, you kind of think, I guess it's fine. Like, all you can do is just be ready to go. And they do the call over. I think it was us, the Dutch, and the New Zealand team. And they call us over, and then how it would normally be is they say attention, and then like a light would come up, and then a light would go out, and another light would come out, and they'd get this buzzer. But so how it went was they called us over, got attention, then we kind of held for like quite a long time, and then over the tannoy came the word sorry, and then the word go, kind of not even like go. It was just like a kind of like a question.
What?
So it was just I sensed that at the time something kind of crazy was happening, and I was like just breathing over the mic because I didn't want to kind of speak over whatever was about to happen. I was just breathing like, be ready, like something is about to happen. But anyway, but then there was this go, and the credits to the Dutch, they just like leapt out, like as absolutely they should. But like we were kind of a bit like unsettled by it, and we didn't really get going. And then in an 8, like it's sort of fatal. So we kind of like, and there was this kind of confusion as to what had happened. And so we kind of gave it our best shot, but like ultimately we didn't handle that situation as good as the Dutch and as good as the Kiwis. And we finished third. So like after the heats, you sort of, if you kind of looked at the times, we'd probably be the 5th like ranked crew of the men's A event. And then you're kind of like thinking, oh my God, this is like our Olympic dream. We've won every race running into this, and now like we've just completely dropped the ball somehow. Obviously the situation was kind of unexpected, but you've got to handle it. So we kind of came off and like tried to work out what we could do better. Ultimately just handling like that situation would have helped a lot. And we probably weren't going to have that again. But also, the way we were rowing and the way we were like trying to row and trying to deliver our race, we could have done that better.
Was there any apology from? Did anyone like go and say like that's not how you start a race?
I think like it was
done by that point.
I think it was kind of done by that point, and a lot of us just didn't really know what had happened because you're kind of in there. It was a bit crazy, and like there was this, I didn't know that the lights hadn't gone out because I never know about the lights, so I'm never looking that way. But it was a bit of a strange one. But so we're in the rep and trying to deliver like trying to row a bit more our way. We basically, like, for us it was really important that we organised off the back and like separated well. We just weren't really doing that. And then had some like tough conversations, and then looking to kind of deliver more our fingerprint in the rep. And to be fair, we did do that better. But like we got out to a bit of a lead, but then the New Zealand team eventually rode through us again. And So by the end of the rep, we kind of got ourselves into the final, but we were now like probably ranked fourth. Like, so we were probably, after the heats, ranked fifth, after the rep, fourth fastest crew, and then into the final. And I think we probably tried to come in and experiment a little bit with what we were trying to do. Like, we've been going well, but we were trying a few things out. And I think we probably needed our race in the rep in the heat, so we could kind of develop from that point on. But as it was, we had it in the rep, and we just had to hit this final as best we could. So we ended up kind of reverting back a little bit to more what we'd done earlier in the season, like length, a little bit lower rate, that kind of thing. And we fired it off, and we're right in the mix for the front runners with Germany, the New Zealand team a little bit further back. And then I think in the third 500, if I remember right, the New Zealanders put in a really good push and took control of the race, and that was kind of like pretty decisive. And they were then that was then their race to kind of control, left us and the Germans to sort of fight it out. And it ended up being really tight at the end with us and Germans, but ultimately they got the silver, and we collected the bronze. So like, I think on the one hand, we were really, we'd come in wanting to win. Absolutely. You know, we were the top seed, and we had a really good season. After the heat, really, really difficult result, but we had progressed really well in that point. So we could take a bit of solace in that. But I think initially there was a feeling of we haven't really done what we set out to do.
Yeah, that's always hard, obviously. With, like you said, the weight of being in a British 8 and what happened in Rio and all those things. Like, it's always tough. I think you get further away from the competition, you could kind of see, like you said, how it went, like how things went down, and like you can only do your best. And like, if win, lose or draw, like races that I've won, I lost, and I've lost only by a foot, and at the time it sucked. But I look back on it and be like, there was nothing else I could have done. That was the best I did. So, and difficult, I guess, in terms of the team in general, but like, to come away with a medal is still a medal.
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably I remember after the race, Tom Ford and I had been taken off into this like media area, and we were going to talk to the BBC about something, and it basically meant that while we were waiting for this to happen, we had a bit of time to ourselves, and we had our medals on, and we were kind of looking at them and kind of thinking like how much we would have loved to have something else, but also like, this is quite cool. Like, rewind 5 years, you'd have given anything for this. So actually, maybe we can start to feel a little bit positive about it. But then there was one of the guys on the boat had sort of said something in an interview just prior, which had caused a lot of media kind of, or it just caused a bit of like a stir. And then our media lady sort of burst in. It's like, okay, it's really kicking off out there. This has happened. So just as we were probably starting to think like, maybe it kind of all kind of kicked off. And
I think it's the double-edged sword of being, of having that fantastic ability to drive yourself on and always want more, and that's great, but also sometimes can rob you of what you do achieve. Mm-hmm. We spoke before a lot with a lot of people, and when we ask people some advice, they give themselves, again, like it's a common theme that comes up, is to take a minute every now and again to be happy with what you've done. And I'm super guilty of it as well, and like, I look back on my career, I didn't get to the Olympics. That was the aim for me. I never went there. And it's very easy to just push everything else to the side. It's like something but the further I get away now, I sort of just catch myself in the car sometimes being like, you're in the senior GB team, like for a bit, like not exactly where you want to be, but like, like some people would kill for that. And like, it's hard to do because you're chasing perfection. But yeah, I definitely think for anyone out there who's struggling with what they have or haven't achieved, like, take a minute every now and again to be like, hey, that was all right. I was all right at that.
Yeah,
I did well.
And I think sometimes it takes like a bit of context, like, because you're in it and you're just surrounded by all these people who have done it, and or in the team, and you're all there. And then for me, it was probably when I got home, and then I started seeing my friends and family who I hadn't really seen much because of like all the restrictions, and people wanted to like see this medal, and I was so like amazed by it, and like it's so heavy. Like, can I get a photo? I'm like, yeah, of course. And then before I know it, like someone who I don't even know is like, oh, is that an Olympic medal? Oh my God. Like, I'm gonna, and it's like going all the way around the side. I'm like, okay, no, actually, I kind of want that back. Like, so, but then now I think, I'd always, you always want more and stuff. But now I've got it in my little, drawer, and I like doing
in a drawer. It's not on display.
No, I
that's like too much.
I don't know.
Well, there's all this stuff. I don't normally have all of this out. I don't know if we've even spoke about this on camera. Like, we put all this up for the podcast. We did start taking it down again, but then as now we're doing one a week, a lot of it just stays up and lives there. And I feel a little bit. Sometimes someone, like some of our friends, will come and visit who don't yet know that I'm doing the podcast, and I see them looking at it like, you've built a shrine to yourself here. Like, no, it's for the podcast.
I mean, like, some of this stuff is so great. Like, and I get it out sometimes. I have a little look at it, like, oh,
that's good. And again, yeah.
And like, look, some of this stuff here, like, I mean, like, it's just epic.
I mean, the red box. Yeah, you've got some red. How many red boxes have you got?
3. I've got 3.
Nice.
But I mean, it's like,
we won this one together.
That was so good.
We won one of those World Championship ones to medal together. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think like a little bit of context, you kind of realize actually, like, being in the team with Henley, like, these things are, or even just, winning just anything, any kind of, like, it's just, it's really cool. And I think, I think it's so, you're in this, like, this zone and this mode of like, go, and it happens and whatever. And you're kind of, it's just, you've got so much, like, almost momentum trying to, and you've got to, like, slow down and stop and be like, actually, we did some good stuff, and we can enjoy that. And I think we should enjoy that.
Yeah. I think it just speaks to it's a statement to your attitude as an athlete, where you can come away from the Olympics with a medal and be like, wasn't good enough. You when everyone goes there to try and win and to try and medal. And again, I think this is exactly why GB team wins as much as they do, because everybody just, one thing that, like, is so different in British sport, for example, compared to Poland, where I'm from, is that any competition you'd have gold, silver and bronze. It doesn't matter if it's a regional competition or if it's a national competition. In Britain, there's a winner and that's it. And there's a loser. Oh, you came second? Nah, you didn't come second. You didn't get silver. You lost. So I think that's where that stems from. So
second in the boat race, no second at Henley. Yeah, there's a few events where we don't do that as much.
So obviously coming back from Tokyo and being home, that must have been incredible. How long before you got back in the boat again since the Olympics?
I think, not that long actually. UL kind of came a calling. Hugo Gulliver kind of got this great opportunity to go and coach at Oxford Brookes, and he was coaching UL at the time, and he had to kind of jump at that opportunity for sure, and but it kind of left UL sort of maybe on the back foot, trying to find like someone to look after their program. So Brian Young stepped in as a sort of intermediary head coach, and then kind of just basically put out the call, like, can anyone help? And I was thinking, yeah, absolutely, I've got time. So I went down and kind of wanted to coach, but ultimately was put in the ULA to fire it up, and them to fire me up, really. Like, I was pretty tired and burnt out after the Olympics, so it's quite like it wasn't too long, and it was great to be back on the river and kind of dodging mud flats and banging oars with some. It was great fun.
And then, so like you said, it took a bit of time to decide whether you wanted to keep going or not, and other things in your life getting more into the forefront.
When I was kind of working out if I wanted to come back, I think I probably was quite tired of the sport, and I think I was really, really burnt out by just probably the whole like COVID thing, like living to the regulations to the letter, like having quite a lot of like isolation from people you could sort of care about, and then like the COVID Olympics, I was pretty tired by the end of all that.
I think anyone would be, like, it's all consuming, and also as well, like, ignorance is bliss sometimes. Before you've done an Olympiad, it's like, I want this.
Yeah.
And then like go for your second one, you're like, okay, I knew what it took to get that. So there's some trepidation in stepping back in the ring.
But I can also imagine just having to watch every single step every day. Just like, we cannot have a test go the wrong way for like a long time.
Exhausting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You can't really get away normally with as a cox saying like, yeah, I was quite tired. But I really was very, very, very fatigued by it all, and like just mentally so. And I hadn't really kind of worked out what I needed to feel better. But having, with UL kind of asking me to come down and help, like that sort of started to feel like that, like love for it again. Because I mean, we were kind of talking about maybe putting a Henley boat together after the Olympics, which was just after the Olympics, and I was kind of like thinking, no way. And then, let's go to Henley anyway and have a good time. And I was like, no, I don't want to see rowing at all. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to hear about it. But it was when I went down to UL and started to coach these, these sort of like great student athletes, started to fall in love with it again. And then I thought, okay, I think I'm getting back on this horse. And then I did get back on the horse, and yeah.
Was it a decision, to go for the women's squad? Was that? I mean, that was quite new at that point. I can't remember what year that first got changed. The rules got changed on that.
Yeah. So the women's squad, I guess, coxes became gender neutral in 2017. Okay. So there'd been a few. Like, I guess if I think just off the top of my head, Caleb Shepherd is like a great cox from New Zealand, coxed their rate in Tokyo to silver medal. Mm-hmm. So no, I think at the cox, like a bunch of coxes turned out, and we were asked for the first time, which squad do you want to be in? And I was sort of said, I actually don't like have a preference, but I was in the men's squad, so I kind of was doing the men's squad stuff. Mm-hmm. And then and Harry Brightmore, it's like a fantastic cox the men's A now, was in that mix as well. And as we were basically like switching around for the men's spot. So I think he took it for the World Cup 1 in Belgrade. I coxed them in Henley and for Lucerne. Mm-hmm. And it was at that point though that I was told that actually they wanted to go the way of Harry, which I was kind of, obviously like, disappointed about. Like, you kind of been on sort of, I guess, I've been in that team for so long, and then it kind of getting to the point where that you're kind of not in that team anymore was it's obviously a tough thing. And but like you kind of could understand it, like, he's epic, and he's doing a great job. And I probably, I don't know if I tell myself like this, but I probably didn't really feel like maybe the best version of me through all of that. I think I probably was still a bit burnt out. I don't think the result would have been any different. I think he would have still got it, but I think I probably, looking back, I wasn't my best self, I think, through that. I'm not saying that, I was, off the rails or doing anything like, I just think I wasn't super happy. I wasn't enjoying it like I had done. Mm. And maybe part of that is, a lot of my like people that I'd come up with were now like gone. Yeah. People that like Ollie Cook or Alan Sinclair, the people that, and just it's a different cohort. And I don't think I really fit into that group. I think I wasn't really the right person for it.
So you can't just always be riding at the peaks. So it's normal to have ups and downs, and like obviously in order to jump to the new peak, sometimes you just have to like go down, and progress isn't linear. So that's
John Collins spoke about obviously the difficulty with him. He's been to 2 Olympics and maybe not got the result he wants, and there's a real hangover from that, and I think difficult to also quantify continuing life after having done what it was culminating towards for 15 plus years. So I don't think you can. Obviously, you're just being really hard on yourself because that is who you are, and that's why you are where you are. But like you said, at some point you sort of look back and be like, okay, I can see why maybe I wasn't hitting at my absolute best.
It was a funny time, and there was like I found everything hard that year. Like I found like managing my weight was really hard. Like I would run for like, I would do like everything was kind of in the teens. I'd run a few times of like, probably like 3 or 4 times a week. every run would be somewhere in the teens, and I'd be hardly eating anything, and my weight would just be high. And I was kind of like, what's going on here? I don't understand. I've never had this before. But anyway, so after Lucerne, I was kind of given the chance. Well, I was basically out, and I think at that point, I kind of had the chance to sort of take a bit of a moment and think about things, and I was sort of asked by the team to like help out some of the group that was staying behind for the World Championship. So there was a pair of Matt Roster and Jacob Dawson. I was asked to coach, and then Harry Dennis there as well, who was kind of coming back from injury. And
shout out Glenn.
Yeah, you know, we like I mean, they're all just fantastic guys, and so kind of that was a bit of a project for me, but it also gave me the chance to work on a few things myself. Like I was kind of like, well, I just got to think about everything I do. You know, what am I eating? Like what's like, I'm getting older. I don't know if I've got a bit of silver here. I don't know. And
it's all right. Maybe our cameras aren't good enough.
Yeah, we can just like put a bit of it. Yeah, I don't know. But so maybe my metabolism is changing. So I kind of fired up this nutritionist to be like, this is my situation. I talked to I talked to a psychotherapist. Like, you know, this is like where my head's at. Like, what about this? Like, what do you think? And I kind of basically everything that I do, I basically had got someone to come and like give me an opinion on, kind of look at, and I think I think it's really, really, really important. Like I think it was the start of me feeling like probably a lot more like myself again, a lot more like I kind of was able to like have the impact on boats that I wanted to. So we kind of there was that sort of block there, but then like kind of somewhere in the middle of that, we were asked to race the Coastal World Championships, which is just awesome.
Insane, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's absolutely mad. So I kind of got to do that in a quad with who was stroking here? Jacob Dawson stroking. I think then it was maybe Matt Roster, Ollie Cook, and then Rich Clark. And it's just carnage. It's just like so fun. You kind of you start these races on land, and you've got to have your feet on the ground. There's someone behind, and they say, attention, go, and then you kind of jump in the boat. I've got a rudder in my hand that I then like bang through the bottom of the boat. Someone's pushing you out like you're a bobsled, and then you just crack on, and it's basically a contact sport. You're going along and you're kind of banging into each other. You're steering around all these, like, honestly, such fun. Would really recommend. But yeah, it's a bit of a side note, I guess.
No, it's cool. It's that sounds brilliant. It's going into the Commonwealths. Yeah, beach sprint stuff now. So England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland all going to have an opportunity to get, because Commonwealth, I can't remember when it last was, like 2010, wasn't it? Was sort of the last time rowing was involved in the Commonwealth Games. It's kind of been a bit separate. So pretty cool for those countries to be able to get back in the actual full games as opposed to just like the separate regatta. But no, going back to what you said, I think it's like, again, like another reason why we started this, like I think it's so important that people who listen to this and anyone who's young and rows and the rest of it get to hear that even the best struggle sometimes, and you need to have help. And some people can feel embarrassed about saying, I had to go to a therapist or I had to speak to a nutritionist, and actually, like,
it's so important to say this.
Yeah, definitely. And for other people to see it, because I think also when you're in that point, you know, for you, I'm struggling with my weight. I've never struggled with my weight before. Like, am I the only person struggling with my weight? Has anyone else been here? And it's like, yeah, no, they have. And again, like another thing I want to sort of listen to you talk about in the Olympics about, okay, so like after the heat, we really need to just focus on sort of shape around the back. And as a coach, it was something I would say sometimes, once you've got a crew to the point that they know how they're rowing and you're just either focusing on front or the back of stuff, I'd say there's probably a crew at Caversham today, the GB Rowing Centre, working on the shape on the back. Like, rowing is the same for everyone and we'll all work on the same things. And again, like, that's the point where I think for you just sort of said it, oh yeah, it was just something we need to work. But I think for me, it's like I think about myself back as a young kid. I was like, I was working on, like my coach was telling me about shape yesterday. And I think like, it's really cool to hear that there's so many similarities, no matter what level you're at.
And this is also awesome to hear that you managed to like get back to being the version of yourself that you said that had the impact on the boats that you like really wish that you had. And like, obviously that's really showing the results of like this year and everything. So when did you first start coxing the women's team?
It was start of the season. We kind of rocked up And I basically had a conversation with their coach Andrew, and I said, look, I want to throw my hat in the ring for this. I actually had wanted to throw my hat in the ring last year, but I was kind of in this trial for the men's boat, and he was like, okay, well, we'll have a look at you. We've got to put a process together, and that kind of involved me basically going back to Leander for a bit, which I kind of thought, oh no, it sounds like a death sentence to me, but it wasn't. To be fair, it was exactly as he said, and so it kind of it meant that I did a bit there and then a bit at Caversham. We kind of alternated like that, and I got to race with we did a bunch of races with Leander. We did some fixtures with Oxford women's team. We did the women's head, and I actually had the best time. I kind of I kind of said, like, I started to fall back in love with it with the UL stuff. With the Leander women's team, I started to fall in love with it even more, and I had such a good time there, honestly, and I kind of felt really well supported by them. And then Rossi, the coach, Ross Hunter, Rich Chambers, like, they were just, they were kind of, obviously they had, there were other coxes around, and like they had to be fair, but I felt like I was getting treated fairly, which was awesome. And it kind of meant I got to be on the river, and I steer around bends and stuff, and I kind of just back to the roots a little bit. And then basically it all kind of culminated in like a coxing trial at Caversham, where we spent basically a week like in 2/8 side by side, like everything recorded. It was pretty intense, but it was like I felt like I was. I mean, I was very, very pleased that it went the way it did, and I'm now able to cox the GB Women's 8. I had an amazing time with it, and I just feel like I'm almost at my best. I feel like I am at my best, and
awesome.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be.
And in terms of like approaching it with the women, is it any different? Is there some different things to learn, or is it pretty much you're doing the same job, same athlete, same mindset?
It's really funny. Like, everyone asks me, like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's like, it's a funny question, as if like you're able to kind of comment on the difference between like men and women everywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's because if I compare like the men's team in the 2021 cycle and then the 2016 cycle, that I was, even though I didn't go to the Olympics, I was kind of there the whole time, and like the groups are like tremendously different, and the team, the vibe was so different. I think Jack said it in his podcast that the vibe of the 2016 group was like really good. Like, you kind of, I mean, I was the there's a bit of a side shoot here, but like I was like the bottom cox in that team. But like, where it was my birthday, like people would like got me all these presents. I had, obviously I'm always in a camp like this, they got me like a new one of those, and I had I remember Jürgen would take the time to kind of like make me a seat in the cox pair, like, are you comfortable, this, that, the other, like, and everyone was just going out of their way for everyone. And I think in the 2020 team it was a bit different. It probably wasn't quite as positive as that. Like, I love all those guys, but it was so different. And now with the women, like, it's different again. And I think so the difference is I'm not sure if it's because they're women or whatever, because I was with two groups of men that were very different too. But I think, like, in my head, I'm trying to approach it in a similar way. Like, rowing is rowing, just as you were saying. Like, the J14s down the road are working on the same stuff as like the GB Men's 8 down at Caversham, and it's the same for us. Like, we're trying to place well, propel the boat with time under the water, and then organize again. I think so. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I think like there are like differences between this group and maybe the last group I was in that I feel that I feel like maybe with men, like some of the men's 8s I was in, and me as well, people ask, how are you doing? And you're like, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine. Even if you're maybe having a terrible day. But I feel perhaps the group that we have now, I feel like there's a real honesty between everyone. Like, you can kind of say how you're feeling, and it kind of allows you to be more supportive, perhaps.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And in terms of aggression, obviously, like when you're racing, the speeds are a little bit different, and you might hear like something different going on during being in the middle of a 6-lane race. What's that like?
I think like it's kind of in the middle of my racing experience in that, like, I've been in the men's 8, which is like super quick. I've been in the Cox pair, which is like very, very slow.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like it still feels like very fast.
Rapid, yeah.
And I think, like, at the end of the day, it's an 8's race, and you want to kind of seize the advantage and then kind of consolidate. Obviously, some of our races haven't really gone that way, but yeah, I think it is similar. But I'm still kind of working it out. Like, this sort of, you're like, oh, bits of it feel like maybe great men's 8s I've been in the past, but bits of it maybe feel like great kind of Cox 4s I've been in the past, and bits of it feel completely unique. So I'm sort of I'm keeping myself really open to like learning about it.
That's the best thing you can do, isn't it? Yeah, never stop learning. Like, I think that's the best way. And obviously, you have some good results as well. It's gone pretty well.
Yeah.
So confidence coming into the Worlds.
Yeah, I think so. I think like we've kind of got to the point now in the season where we have beaten everyone and everyone has beaten us.
So it's all to play for.
So I think it's going to be. I think it's everyone is a very similar speed. I think, like, okay, we won the last one, but I don't think that means that we're front runners at all.
Sure.
There's other people to come back into it. I think it's going to be very close, and I think it'll be a great race. So yeah, encourage people to watch it.
Awesome, excited about that one.
I'm just curious, like, obviously that team's done so well this year. Like, you've just recently won gold at the World Cup 3 with was it World Cup 3? Yeah, with the incredible finish, and I think got silver at Europeans. So there's definitely so much speed in that crew. How are you feeling for like going into Paris? Like, obviously it's just about a year away from now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we are sort of taking it day by day. We got to qualify the boat first. So the world champs, we've got to come top 5. And like I said, I think the field's pretty tight, and there are other players to come in. So I think we want to do that first, and then we can. Obviously, the dream is to go to Paris and to produce a really great performance. But yeah, I think like you were saying before, like we got to kind of ground ourselves to the process and kind of, I think, maybe use the dream to kind of like have that bit of motivation, but then be very grounded that we've got to train well, and we got to get the thing in the qualification spot first.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I'm excited. Like we were talking about, when you're part of the team and you're not where you want to be, it can be a real struggle because you want the best for your mates, but also it's like, I want to get back in there. But as soon as I finished rowing, like, it was such a great moment to me because I could like be so happy for everyone, like, and see like my boys like getting medals, and like I'm not in the mix, so it's fine. So like be wild, man. I'd love to see you do well, obviously at Worlds. Like, I hope it all goes well.
I mean, the entire GB team looks so strong into the Paris Olympics. We've made some predictions, not on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not putting them on camera yet.
No, we're not putting them on camera, but we've made some predictions. I think there's going to be so much to like look forward to when it comes to next year, and obviously, World Championships are only like 2 months away from now, so not even maybe. So I'm just really, really excited to like sit down and turn the telly on and watch that. Absolutely.
Right, we just got to finish with our quick round questions, I reckon.
Yeah. Cool. So what's the favorite rowing venue that you've been at, visited, or have trained at?
I mean, I had an amazing time at the Cut in Seattle, where Washington trained. I think at the time it was I'd been reading The Boys in the Boat, and we kind of got there, and like the boat's up in the rafters, and there's so much great history there.
The Shell Boathouse.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So much history, and yeah, I had an amazing time. I think I mean, I love coming back to the Tideway. I know it's smelly, but it's my home, and I actually love it. So that's 2. But,
there you go. There's someone that loves the Tideway.
That's it. If you were to repeat one race or like participate in a regatta when you're 60, what would it be and why?
And this is kind of reliving it as your younger self kind of thing.
The one you do again.
Well, love to have another crack at the Olympics and see if there's anything we could do. But on a more serious note, I think it would probably be one of 3. It would probably be like the 2014 Cox pair, with Al Sinclair and Scott Durant. Like it was just your first one. You know, you always remember your first like kind of achievement like that, and it was a wonderful time. Maybe 2013 ladies plate. Like we were just not good enough to be in the team, but we were definitely more than the sum of our parts. It was an awesome time. Or that Coastal Championships. Like honestly, like it's just so fun. Like you've got to please give it a go. Honestly, it's so good.
We're gonna get back to training just to do the Coastal Championships, and if we need a Cox, we'll definitely give you a shout.
Oh yeah, please.
The one I like to ask is if you could travel back in time to the age you were when you first really caught the bug for rowing, what piece of advice would you give that kid?
I think what I say is like, don't apologize for liking the things you like or wanting to do the things you want to do. Like if you want to row, little guy, go for it. And like, you know, fully like, don't worry. Like things will be all right. Like you'll work it out.
I like that.
Awesome. So I guess in terms of coxing, it might be different for the last question, but who's your rowing idol or the person that you've looked up to the most?
Oh, like, I think when I was a kid, I was blessed with some amazing coaches. I think like Bobby Thatcher was one of my early coaches, and he was, you know, kind of, I really, really looked up to him, and he kind of held us to a very high standard. I think probably I found like that Sydney race in the men's 8. We were shown that in our first year of school. As like a kind of, I think they were trying to show us that we had no idea how to push hard. So they played us for us. But I remember that race and that crew was very, really inspiring to me. Like the way they did things and the way they rode. And so I kind of found myself often kind of checking in with that bit of coverage or what have you. So, and I guess, you know, I could give it a crack at naming everyone in there, but obviously, you know, Brody Douglas was the coach for that one. So, like probably that crew, I guess. And then, you know, like all the like teammates you've had along the way, like they're just kind of gets to that point, I think. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I've got one more question. It just came to mind. Obviously, I've heard a really good answer to this question when we were on the regatta circuit, and I've managed to like ask a few coxers this. What's your favorite call and why? And there is a good answer to that. So I wonder if you're going to have a better one.
Oh, goodness. I don't know.
Do you want to hear the one that I heard?
Go on. Yeah.
Down.
I was thinking of that. Yeah.
I remember after our first under-23s, we had a training camp in or just a training weekend maybe at Caversham with under-23s, and we would do some like side-by-side 8 battling, and I was in your crew, and I think there was quite a few boys that hadn't done a Worlds, and I was only a few that had, so I think for the first time in my life I was probably puffing my chest a little bit too much. And you were talking about like the final nail in the coffin.
Oh yeah.
So I think you call out nail in the coffin. And I was like, yeah, boys, like nail in the coffin, turn the screw, stick the knife in. And then we finished the thing. We're steering around, and from the bank, Pete Shepherd just goes, Tom Clark, a little less chat, a little more rowing, please. I definitely got above my station on that one. Put me back in my place.
That's incredible. Henry, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for obviously such detailed like explanations of like what it's actually like to be that person in charge at the top, and obviously go through so many different squads, like sort of like the lessons and the experiences that you can like draw from having been involved in the sport for like almost 20 years. And like, I just wanted to say I really, really appreciate the honesty and really appreciate the support you've also like given to the podcast ever since we started. So no, that's been great, and it's been fantastic having you on.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We were always going to have you on, mate, at some point. I'm glad we got a chance to fit it in. And yeah, no, again, really appreciate coming in. And I think for a lot of people, their own story, they know it through and through. It's their story, and it can kind of lose its importance. But I think us sitting here on the other table and hearing people tell it and sort of feel, and the feedback we've had from people that listen, like it is really important, and it does mean a lot to a lot of people, and I think it does help a lot of people. So really appreciate you coming and talking.
Definitely going to get you back on after you get that gold medal in Paris next year.
Touch some wood.
Yeah.
Cool.
There we go. Awesome. So on that note, easy there.
Cue the music.